previous name and the alias name. If it wraps, the wrapping's not very nice. I don't know. What do you think, Colin? I'm just.
I actually don't think we need it, right? Because if they want to go back to the real patient name, they can click back on the icon, right?
Yeah, I will search again.
And what's on their form in front of them is not the patient name; it's the alias.
Yeah. No,
so I'm not sure what value the actual name brings. Like if they had on the form they had both, different story, right? Then you'd be going, well, I need to be able to compare, but it's not, right? So as long as they still have access to the real name through the alias icon, I think we're okay to just drop it.
Yeah. Or worst case scenario, they just redo the whole search again by the other patient. So yeah.
So I think.
So just go. So Han, just go back to the previous screen with the pop-up. Yeah. So here, as long as they go, if they were to open this back up, they see exactly this. Patient name is up the top, so that's with all the ID and date of birth, and then the highlighted alias. So I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm. So my main purpose of this suggesting this design is to revolve the user about the actual name, that the user can make sure that they select the right patient with the alias. So maybe we can still display it, but not will appear on the actual form.
But the only thing that they can compare with though is the actual, in this case, DEE. So the ADAF's newborn baby won't exist anywhere. They won't be able to see that. Like, it won't be on a form, won't be on a tube, won't be on anything.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. The only thing on there is going to be DEE, the patient ID, assuming the date of birth. So, because you can't compare it with anything, it's what's the value?
Okay.
I don't think it would be a big problem to bring back in later if that ever causes an issue.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Caveating that, as I said, caveating that with, as long as we can press the alias button again, icon again, to bring up the pop-up, and they can see the full details there, then yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I will keep only the alias after the user selecting it. And one question in here, just confirming. So I see your comment, Darren. So in here, let me go back to the comment. Yeah. So you said that a user can only add no delete functionality or update. So that means that we will not have the delete and editing the alias. Is that true?
Yeah. So you can only add an entry.
And that add function, do you think that we should place it in this form when the user clicking on this edit function or create a new patient? The user can add the alias, or we can allow the user to add alias only in this alias dialog.
What did I put in that document? Yeah, so when they click the new button now or add, it does take them to the update patient, but it's just the alias field and the comment field. So if you looking at your design on screen at the moment, the add button that you've got goes into there. Okay. When you're doing that, you don't want to see the previous aliases.
Why not?
Because the alias is related to the patient that's selected.
Yeah.
And you basically want to add one. You don't want to, like, if you go back to your previous screen, you've clicked that there's an alias and you select, right? And you realize that, oh, the alias you want is not there.
Yeah.
So you then want to add a new one. So you then go into update. So here you either combine the two screens in one.
Well, that's the question. Yeah. So what happens when I hit that button? Add new alias from either screens.
So in here, if you are in the update patient details, so I suggest that when user clicking on add a new alias, we will add a new row here, so that the user can enter the alias and the comment.
Yep. And from the other screen, similar.
So in my point of view, if we allow the user to add more alias in this dialog, we can clicking on this add new alias and we can open a new row in this table. So that's another way to doing it. Or like what Darren say, we can open this update patient detail form and then add more alias like this.
So part of my problem with this one is that when we're doing the add and select, every single field in that dialog is going to go to the LIS system and get updated, not the alias. So we're doing a whole lot of processing for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So updating the patient address, we're updating all the other details up the top. So it'd be quite nice. If you click the alias icon, we either come to this one and select from here, and don't worry about that little alias one, because we can do all the same functionality in here. I don't think we need two.
Yeah, but it's a good point what you're saying. You're sending a whole big update when you're not.
Yeah. So the other thing, this is system based at the moment. When it becomes a user attribute, I don't know, we might have to look at the design again, because as a user you might not be able to add an alias.
Well, you will also, if the patient doesn't have an alias and you need to add one, where can you do it from the previous screen? Because the icon won't exist.
No, so you've got to come in here and edit the patient and then add an alias. So you're still coming back to the screen anyway. Yeah.
So do we need, can we have this in two sections, possibly? So that the cancel, add and select patient, or whatever that button's going to be called, can be under the patient bit, and add and select alias can be under the alias bit. So can we, like, in the one form, that have two actions?
Yeah, that's... I mean, the only benefit of listing the aliases is most of the time the one you want's in the system, so you just select that and carry on. You're not going to be sending all this data back to the LIS. Just to,
Yeah, but the selecting, 90% of the time it's there, right? So you're just selecting it and carrying on. It's what happens if it doesn't have an alias, or you've got to add one or edit one.
mm,
So then I've got to come into this screen. What I'm saying is, in those scenarios, I want the little pop-up for when you're just selecting an alias that already exists, like the previous screen. I think that's good. If you press in the other screen though, so two workflows, in the other screen, if you have to select, that's what we need to decide. If you press the add alias button, do you come to here? Or can you add a row like Khan showed? And then you just leave this for a true edit. But as we said, if the patient doesn't have an alias, then you're going to end up here.
yeah.
But still, can we split, when you end up here, can you split this into two so the patient update is different to the alias update?
I mean, confusing with two buttons.
How about how about I copy this part to the selecting alias dialog? Like the user can also add a new alias from this selecting patient dialog.
Yeah, you need to link it to the patient ID and encounter number, because that's the key.
Yeah, but that's back end, right?
No, it's be front end, because you got to link the alias name that you're putting in to a record in the database.
Yeah, but that's here. The patient is up there. Sandy's
Số
newborn
ghế
baby.
sofa là ở
Date of
trong
birth.
tòa nhà đúng không?
That's the real patient name, right?
Trong tòa nhà đúng không? Ok. Vâng, ok.
You can only get to this dialogue by selecting a patient.
Yeah, okay.
You've got to press the icon in the patient record, right? So we have the patient here. If it's a simple add another one because it doesn't exist, then I think this is, however you end up with that design, I think that's fine. Problem is, the icon won't exist if there is no alias.
Yeah.
No, that's where you go to the edit and you add.
Yeah. Right, so when we do that, when we go to the edit and add, back to your point, Darren, do you want to update the entire patient record with everything, or can we split this one dialogue but have two actions? You update patient under the patient business and an update alias under the alias business, so you can.
So yeah, you've got multiple workflows. So
I know.
taking your one there where there's no alias, you come in here, you want to add a row or add the alias in the comment field and save it.
Yep.
But then you've also got, if someone comes back and edits this and they've got multiple aliases, what do we want to show?
All the aliases.
Yeah, so then you'd have to select one if you want to use it, or don't select one. So yeah, if you update the address,
we don't have to allow, if let's say it didn't exist. Like if it didn't exist, you have to add it here. It doesn't actually have to be the select. This can be just add the alias, and then you can go back to the normal dialogue to select it.
Yeah, which is how it works now. As you close the dialogue, it says, do you want to use that ID for the main patient?
Because then the icon would suddenly appear. But there was no icon. Now there is an icon. Now you can select it and select the alias. I know it's a bit of a workaround, but aliases shouldn't be, and they're multi-stepped anyway, right? And it's even more multi-stepped if an alias doesn't exist and you have to add one. Well, of course, it's going to be fiddly and multi-step.
How about if the user, if the patient don't have any alias, we still allow them to have a button here to open the alias dialog and add the alias right away.
The purpose of the icon in the alias column is to indicate there is one. So unless you have two different icons, one when there is stuff and one when there's no alias, because one of the main reasons they use the alias is because it's present. So yeah, we need to somehow distinguish when there's alias present and no alias documents.
Do you just have it? No, you can't just have an add alias button down the bottom because it doesn't relate to the.
No, it needs to relate to the patient.
Okay, go across to the. Can you go across to the right-hand side of this screen? Do we have a alias? No, sorry, just up the list. So we've got the
Edit icon and select button.
back one. Yeah, no, back to the previous screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but over on the right-hand side of this screen.
Just where the edit icon and the select button are. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
No. Stay on the screen that you're on.
So this one.
Yeah. Stay on that screen. Just go to the right-hand edge of it. Yep. Of that screen. So we've got the edit icon. We've got the select icon. Do we need an add alias icon over there in the actions?
So the way the system works at the moment is that there's they click create new for a new alias. They go into the existing update patient dialog.
Yep.
There's an alias field and a comment field, and they enter data and save it.
Yep.
So that's all they do.
Yeah.
And then when you save the dialogue, it basically says, do you want to use that alias name for this order? And you say yes or no, and then that carries on the workflow.
Yep.
Hello?
So I don't know if we just want to copy.
Well, yeah. Look, I don't mind that, but you were saying that's going to, but the way, because we're in a single screen and we're using APIs, that's going to update the entire patient record.
But you got two things. One is knowing there's an alias, selecting one, and creating.
Yeah. So the selecting one, I don't think we change. Great. And I agree with you. They need to know that there's an alias there. They need to know there's no alias there. That has to be really, really clear. Right? And the icon does that well at the moment in the column. So that differentiation between it's there and it's not there is good. What our problem is that and then the selecting of an alias is also good. If the alias is there, you get the little window, you select the alias, you carry on. That's all good as well.
Adding an alias is that problem.
Yes. So, and the adding is only a problem because in our current form, we are actually going to update every single record in the patient record because of that's the box in the API. How can we differentiate if they've edited the name or if they've just added an alias? We can't differentiate that, right?
Yeah.
From this box. So, why can't we have in the actions an add alias? So over in the right hand side of the screen where we have the pencil and the add select, why don't we just have another icon there?
Which just is a simple two field.
Just opens up that alias box. It just adds up the alias box that we already have, where they can add an alias. Just has to happen. Hasn't the only reason they use it when one doesn't exist, right? So it would be empty, and so they'll have to hit that. We just open up an empty cell where they can add the alias in and the comment and save and select. Happy days.
Yeah.
I think.
So when we keep it, so then the only reason they would go I think alias makes sense to be in the edit patient dialogue, but because then that's a complete picture. But it's to get around, if it's just simple alias, give them the ability to just deal with alias. If they're going to go and edit the patient, then they should be free to edit whatever they want in the patient record. Could be alias, could be name, could be whatever.
Yeah.
I think the problem with it is because we have a function to add a new patient, actually create a patient. So in that dialog, we need to have entering the alias too.
Yep.
So if we change the function, the form update patient, like separating the alias into different dialog, I think this one still need to be consistent with it. The create a patient.
Yep, that's what I'm suggesting. So the add patient and edit patient doesn't change. That will contain all the different components plus alias. Right? Because I agree with you. It needs to have it in there. If you're adding a patient that has an alias, you do the whole thing. What I'm suggesting is we just have another icon if you want to create an alias only. In here. Yeah.
Okay, let's say we have a icon for adding a new alias. So that would be something like this, right? Is that what you mean?
I think it would be whatever the little pop-up screen is. So go back to your little pop-up screen.
This one?
Yep. So it would be in that format, but with the however like if like you discussed, if you put add new alias there, it's just going to create a line or an empty line to fill in.
Mm-hmm.
So do it in that style.
So what do you think if we can, like, I still roll back to that idea, but like because we are thinking of doing another function for creating the alias only. So do you think that we can like combine that function, add a new alias in this dialogue?
Just share your screen again.
Oh, sorry.
Good.
Yeah. So, do you think that we can like add alias in this dialogue too? Like, don't need another dialogue to.
Yeah, absolutely.
In.
Yeah. Just a single dial. That's the dialogue for selecting and for adding, whether you've got an alias or you've not got an alias.
So you just add a new row. Select add.
Yeah.
I think I can like make this one differentiate between when the user don't have alias at all and when they have alias. Like for example, I have this button to be gray, maybe something like this. And when the user, so if the user don't have, the patient don't have any alias, we're clicking on this button, and the user can enter new alias. Like we don't have any row field, we just have a blank row, and the user can start typing the new alias here.
Yeah, look, I'm open to an icon change if that works, as long as it's. I think what's important is when they have an alias, it's got to stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Darren, that's the main requirement.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, like, you know, when you pull back 100 records, you're just going to have that replicated on 100 lines. Can't say I like that, but I mean, if that's what we're going to go with, so be it. To me, a blank and an icon stands out more.
Yeah, I've done lots of icon changes where it's just a slight change of icon before, and no one ever sees the difference. It's like, yeah, it's tricky.
Especially when you've got lots of records in the grid, I think it's, yeah, the icon does stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So can you try both, Han? Can you try on, you know, in the actions, an icon to add an alias over on that right-hand side actions, and have a play around with an icon change so it stands out and is clear and obvious in the current column.
Yeah. And with those first, with both the option, so with the update and create a new patient dialog, do you think that we still include the alias section in this form?
Yes. Yep.
So what's the use case for multiple alias to add? Is it easier to?
You don't add multiple, you pull back multiple from the LAS.
Because in here, like, there are 2 lines of alias.
Yeah, so, but nothing's selected. So basically you're saying, like, you know, say James Anderson, he's also known as by Andy, he's also known by AD. So for this order, I want to use Andy as the name. So I select that radio button and then use that name for the order rather than James. Okay, so you're replacing the name. But so yeah, you kind of look at it, and if there's some available, you look at the selection, you select one, or you create a new one.
So is it just easier to find the record when they look back and to use the alias rather than the family name as given name?
It's what's on the form. It's what comes in on the form. So you've got to match what's on the form. And it might not be James, it might be Andy. So you've actually got to select Andy. And if it doesn't exist, you've got to create it because that's what the person wants. It's kind of like a bit like gender. You know, I might be a female, but I also want to be known as a male. And today I want to be known as a male. So you have to select it because the stuff that goes back to the doctor needs to match. So, so you just by pulling back, we're actually displaying what we've got. And it's like, oh, it's there, carry on. If not,
there's also privacy. So we used to use aliases a lot for sexual health. You know, you get HIV, chlamydia, whatever test. You might work in the lab. You don't want everyone else in the lab seeing your name for an HIV test or a chlamydia test, right? So sometimes it could be just a, you know, XY3724Z as the alias.
So you're basically the lab test, not under your real name. You don't want that name anywhere in the system. Back to your doctor, back anywhere. You're known as that alias. So that's why we're trying to, you select it and then we replace it in green. So that person knows that we're using a different name going forward.
But at least the system can tell it's the same person, right?
Yeah. So the ID is the same behind the scenes. But for this order, I want to be known as something else.
Okay.
It's a confusing, but it's so common. And some people will have up to 10 aliases. So, you know, that obviously we've got to allow for room and all that when we're doing all this. It's not just 1 or 2, it can be up to 10. So have a look at those designs.
So so to conclude, we can add more alias in both the dialog alias here and the update patient dialog, but we cannot like delete or edit the alias.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so if you are pulling back other aliases, they need to be read only.
Okay.
Not editable.
Yeah.
In that dialogue, because it looks like they're editable, and that's not the case.
So Can I know why we cannot like edit the alias? Because maybe there is a case when I miss typing the alias.
It's all to do with access rights, and we're not exposing all that in this interface. It's a task usually done by administrator.
Yeah, they can go back into the core product and do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not here.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I will refine this one. Yeah, and do like two options with this icon and the edit alias action here. Another thing I want to ask is, so I'm working on this document, the filter type cataloged. Do you see my screen? The Confluent one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So so in here I collect all these filter across the data type in DAP and RNG everything. So so still working on it, but in here I think I want to ask. So in the searchable type ahead kind of pattern, when we have a lot of data to search, for example, we have a doctor or specimen type name, we need to have a lot of option, and the user need to be able to search and select that option. So I think in the current system we have many of pattern similar to this one. So for example, we have the copy to function. The copy to, yeah, in here we are typing the doctor code, and we will have a chip inside the input, or we have the let me pull back to this. Yeah, okay. Or we can have the test selecting when we typing the test code, and that test item would be appears at the bottom, something like this. So I think they're all the same kind of pattern when we type ahead and select the option. But maybe in different kind of appearance. So for example, in the filter we can have different one, but in the form we can have different kind of visual for different kind of input. So for example, the tests need to be different from other thing, because the tests need to include the test category like hematology.
Han, just share again.
Okay. Do you see anything?
Yep, it's coming. No, it just dropped out again.
Okay, let me retry. Do you see it? Yeah.
Yep, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. So so I'm trying to have a pattern for the searchable type ahead in the filter list. So so in here there is just one pattern that we have in the Sysmic design system, so that in here we can have a search input, and the user can search for the option, and after they check the checkbox here, the option will be selected and it will appear inside the input here. So that's kind of one option. So another option is something like this when we still have an input and we have when the user start typing, the drop down will appear and the user check on these checkbox, and then after checking the checkbox, that selected option will appear as a chip outside of the input. So this kind of similar to the test selection, or we can have chip inside the input like this. This like the copy to function.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have the code here so that we can test. So with the search and the checkbox and the chip outside of the input, it kind of like this.
Yep.
And if the chip inside the checkbox, it kind of like this.
What's your preference?
So for me, I think this one is okay. So this one is kind of similar to our current filter when we have a clear button here to clear all, and this input here just only for selecting the option. It's kind of clearer. When this one, oh sorry, this one, yeah, and this one is kind of like expanding the input. Or we can have another option. I still this one, yeah.
Yeah, look, my initial thought was the first one, the one with the chips above.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my initial thought. I think and it sort of is a bit more in line with what Europe is doing. You know, you know how we saw their filters. They sort of were adding those chips as well, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm reasonably comfortable with that one.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts, Zoe?
I think it's all making sense to me as long as it's not chip inside, because I feel like it's really hard to get what you've selected. Like if it's in one row and just like the copy to in odd entry, because for list view there might be a list of different materials that you want to select. So as one row probably hard to read, but as long as it's showing separately as a separate section above or beneath, all good.
Cool. Let's go with that then, huh?
Okay.
But I'm also curious because
Just share your screen again, please.
Okay.
this design system, do we need to use whatever we have on there, or can we use that as a guide and then come up with
Yes. Yeah. No, it's as a guide, and then we can do what we like.
Oh, because otherwise I can always go back to the design system and see what's available there rather than having time to.
Yeah, no, but I think that's what you looked at, Han, didn't you? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the design system there, that top one, which.
Yeah.
I think that one. So it's all depend on quantity. I think in some of these things, and we've got to make sure we are coping with something that's not just pulling back 4 options potentially, but looking for heaps. So not that you're going to select heaps, but you could be searching through heaps of data. So yeah, I think the one where the chip goes above, I think that's good.
Okay, so I will make an option for this one. Okay. Another thing that I want to ask is Yeah, so Colin, like we have seen these date range selection from the EU side. So do you think that that kind of a good option to go with this date range?
Yeah, I think if we can make that the same, I think that would be good. That makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think we want the quick. I think still we want the quick buttons, of course. But I do think the way they did that was Well, why, there's no need to do that differently, and we can ask them. I don't even mind if you need to email Pundish. Her email address is on the meeting invite. You can just email her directly. Just copy Darren and me in for the first time, so she remembers who you are.
Yeah.
But feel free to email her directly.
Yeah, but my only issue with this is because I think the EU side will they don't use the systemic design system, so that kind of have an inconsistency between our design and your design.
Yeah,
Their
I mean,
design,
but
yeah.
that's But if both Europe and us think that is the best, that makes sense, right? If we think that's the best design for a date range picker, then the design system will get updated with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to decide that yes, that's the right one. And if we agree with Europe, then good.
So do you think that we can change the design component, but not for the other things like the layout or the component, like they are using the round button, we will not follow that, right?
No, we want them to change to the square button because that is the Sysmix design system.
Okay.
And I already dropped in in a previous meeting. I already said to them, your words, round doesn't line your eye up.
Okay. And for Zoe, I see that you're having exact match.
Exact match.
The exact match filter. This one, the family name and given name. So do you think in our filter we also need that filter, the exact match for name? That's what I'm
Yeah, the family name and given name as a filter. But I think I misunderstand the name exact match because you can see in the example, all the search results are starting from the family name SYS and then given name M. So it's searching everything that's starting with those letters. I don't think that's an exact match. That's more like a partial match, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think Zoe, we probably have to be a little bit. We probably may need to give that a little bit more thought. What in the filter that Europe showed us, they use a wildcard. They use wildcard because that's what everyone's used to. But what I took from that is that if people are using wildcards, they're doing partial searches. So, we are going to need to consider that in our name. Should name be exact match or should name be partial match? I don't have the answer to that, but I think, or likewise, should we introduce a wildcard? So it is exact match, but the wildcard makes it not. I don't know. So I don't think from a design it probably makes too much difference. That's just going to be the behavior, right?
So same as other ID and then patient ID. What I pictured is that they will put exactly the same other ID so that they can search for a result, a matching result. And if it's even if it's one letter away from the actual ad ID, then there won't be any matching results.
Yeah, and I agree. So the one up the top, where they can scan in anything, that definitely needs to be, it finds what it finds, right?
Yeah.
Other ID, patient ID. Also, we probably, let's have another discussion with Darren about whether that should be a partial or an exact in the filter.
Yeah.
Just based on what we saw. And when I'm thinking about other systems I've used, they were often, you could always use a wildcard in those things. You could always search partial. It was always with a wildcard, but you could also should. So, suddenly someone goes, I don't know quite how to spell the name, but I know it starts with these 6 characters, because I can't spell, do I not find anything,
Yeah.
I might not know the suffix. So do I not find it because I don't know the suffix? For example. So yeah, let's not stop with the design because I don't think that matters. So, from a design perspective, whether it's partial or full, I don't think that matters, but we need to decide. I think we need to rethink on that from a behavior.
Okay. Another thing is for this kind of function, when we filter for the fasting, for example, because in here is a radio button, that means that we only allowed to select one option at once. But for the filter, I think we can change it to be checkbox, which means we
I
can
agree.
select
Yep.
multiple options.
Absolutely. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need the radio dial option at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just a quick note, Han. I think after talking to Darren on the filtering format, I think she updated her document, the Confluence document. So all the format from her side includes everything needed for AP. So including that number 3, I think originally Darren didn't put the radio button there, but then she just added as the last category. So everything in order entry that will cover pretty much everything in AP. So you can according to Darren's document first.
Yeah. I checked both of these documents from you and Darren, and I think this stereo button is in both, so I suggest it.
Yeah. She only added it because AP needs it, because initially she didn't put it there. So what I'm saying is that you don't have to duplicate to go through 2 docs, and you can just run into Darren's one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
No worries. Thanks.
Yes. Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.
See ya again.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.
Tao fasting gần 24 tiếng rồi.
Nghe đến cái dòng 27 thì bất khả thi rồi này. À đây, nghe dòng 21.
Thử xem người ta nói cái gì nào.
Thế nào? Cái gì đấy, cái gì mà luồng gió nóng. Hãy như một tấm rèm mắt.
Rồi.
Hãy như một người đầy tớ chủ quan trừng phạt nó gì cũng được nghĩ đến cần tấn công.
Không, người ta ấy người ta là ý là cái này không 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 phải mua, cái này không phải mua mà người ta gọi là gì? Đây, vào ấn